Start recording. Hello,
He was.
Jenny Hsu. Is it Jenny Hsu?
That is right, Jenny Hsu.
Last
Hsu,
name's so much
Hsu.
already. Haven't started yet. All right. My first random question. Okay. So imagine you are a fetus in your mother's womb. All right. What three adjectives would you use to describe that experience? How do you imagine it was?
Oh. Okay, this is a very this one comes immediate to me. I don't know how to explain it though, but it's the feeling of being in the ocean. Like when I'm in there, I feel like I'm in my mother's womb. I feel like I'm being cradled. It's like that gentle rocking of the waves.
Okay.
But you said three.
Three descriptors. That's a good one.
I feel like this is one that everyone's gonna say, so it's not very original, but dark. Because you're in a cave.
Yeah.
Well, not a cave, but yeah, you're in your mother's womb.
Yeah.
Dark, but with the gentle rocking of the waves. So I guess comforting too.
Okay.
I would be curious to go back into time and be conscious, but I guess we're not. Maybe we are. I don't know. But I would love to be able to actually, experience what it feels like to truly be in someone's womb as a fetus. I don't know. I think it's a very mysterious experience.
Yeah.
There's, I assume there's a lot of awe and wonder. Because there's so much, you're just this new thing that's come out into the world, but you're not even out there. I guess it's a very... Did you ask for a feeling?
I asked for an adjective, then it became a descriptor, and now it's a feeling. It's just, we're going with it.
Okay, adjective.
I'm just prompting.
Mysterious.
Mysterious. All right. So we've got the feeling of being rocked and calm and kind of cradled by the water. Got a little bit of dark, being in a literal cave, but also mysterious, but also awe and wonder. All of that wrapped in one. Good. That's beautiful. Complex creature. All right. So you come out. Won't go into detail of that process, but you come out into this world. And what's your earliest childhood memory?
Oh, it's a hard one. I wonder which one came first. There's not much that I can remember, except maybe when I was playing tag with my siblings. This is maybe when I was 3 or 4. And I ran into a chair and I slit my eyelids open. And my dad had to rush me to this ER, which, at the time, this is in China, like in the 1990s or whatever I was born. Yeah, 1990s. So it's not as developed as it is now. And we're rushing in like a sidecar. It's basically a scooter with like the thing on the side. It's like dad and I'm probably, again, I don't remember. I'm probably just bleeding because there's like this slit in my eyelid. And we go into this room. Again, it's not like a hospital that we know of today. It's just like someone's building like a clinic. And I remember this. The needle and the thread like going in and out of my eyelid because I could like see it.
Yeah.
And then everything after that, I don't remember. I probably passed out. But yeah, I think that's my earliest memory.
Would you categorize that as like a more positive or negative, if we can use those words, like in how you experienced it?
I don't know. I wish I could remember the feeling. I presume I was really scared.
Yeah.
But when I look back on it, I don't really have, I think, a negative or a positive association. Although I probably think about how I had a lot of fun being chased by my siblings.
Yeah.
So there's like that positive association of, hey, we were having fun, and then I ran into a chair, and then maybe that negative association of that I was in the ER.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I feel a bit detached from it because I can't recall the emotions.
Yeah. And then you had your dad like taking you there, so I'm sure there's some like element of feeling supported and like you're not alone, right?
Yeah. I mean, I just think about how cool, how adventurous. We were in a
Yeah.
sidecar.
Mhm.
My eye gushing open.
Yeah. Okay. Cool memory. Cool memory. Moving forward, then I guess if that's your earliest one, what would be your most distinct, like difficult or painful experience, if I can go there, that's distinctly quote unquote negative for you?
Ooh. How would you in life, in like my major turning points in life?
No, just the earliest one because we're moving forward chronologically right now.
Do you have an earliest one?
I do.
You do. At what age was it?
Probably like 3 to 5. I don't know the exact age, but it's like
Oh,
in that range.
I don't think I remember much of that age.
Mm-hmm.
Um, well, do you mind sharing what was your kind of that earliest turning point for you?
I could share, but then it's like this is your time to shine. But real quickly, it would be like remembering my parents getting into a huge argument, and like my mom was, they're both like breaking down and crying, and my mom was gonna leave, like, and that's what her mom had done when she was young.
I
Like her
see.
mom just like disappeared one night. Took
That's
off. Yeah.
that's a tough memory.
Yeah.
I I don't know if I'm someone who just like when something happens big in life, I just like shove it in the back of my head.
Mm-hmm.
Because for example, I got my finger cut off. You can't really see. Oh, there.
Okay.
But I don't remember it at all.
Yeah.
I remember getting bit by a dog, like my neck. I assumed it like ripped it off a little bit, and I was in the ER again. But I don't like, there's no scars here, and I don't really recall that except maybe being scrubbed by the doctors, like to clean the wound.
Okay.
But nothing really. I'm trying to think. I think maybe that feeling of abandonment, because when I was young, I don't know if my parents were traveling a little bit. Sometimes, they would have their friends take care of us, like, so they would take me to my parents, their friend's place to look after me for a few days while they were gone. And I guess, well, I'm bringing that up because obviously it's impacted me in some way. And I guess when I was at that age, I didn't feel so comfortable to be in that position. So maybe it did create a little bit of a, sense of abandonment, if you will,
Mm-hmm.
like that fear, right?
Yeah. Did they ever leave you like much longer than you had expected, or just like?
No, but I guess I was a bit TLP. I don't know what it is in TLP. Naughty?
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 Mischievous?
I mean,
Troublemaker?
pardon?
Troublemaker? Like mischievous?
Yeah, mischievous. I don't know if it was intentional, but like in the shopping mall, I remember maybe I was wandering around and I was, really young, maybe I was 4 or something. And I just lost my parents. And what I remember though was obviously I was alone, and I guess a shop lady saw me. They had to go to the mall's like customer center, service center, and like over the intercom, like you could hear like the whole mall, right, at different levels. I'm calling my parents because there's this like abandoned child.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, I guess that was the longest that I felt they left me.
Do you remember what you wanted to be when you grew up, when you were a kid? Like, what was your dream of what you wanted to be, or what you wanted to do?
I suppose. Well, actually, no. I think some kids are quite set, but I guess I'm one of those kids who just wanted to be everything. Like I had a lot of dreams. I still hope I have a lot of dreams today, but yeah, I wanted to be many things. It's quite hard to pinpoint one.
Do you have a few that you could share?
Yeah, well, I guess I love the idea of creating experiences and sharing that with people. So one of it was really having my own shop or a hotel, and but I'm like curating these experiences for people.
Right.
I had like I love like banjajajo, the other one was like a flight attendant, like a hostess, just because I love the idea of traveling and and again the service industry of just like being there with people and but you're helping them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Creating experiences.
Experiences. Yeah, it's always about experiences. Even like think about chef. Like imagine you become the chef and you're cooking these amazing dishes and like it's like palate explosion in your mouth.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Are you doing that now?
Palate explosion.
Curating experiences.
I suppose we all are to a degree, right? When you go out and you meet people. But I think to answer your question more specifically, well, I'm trying to launch my own brand in skin health. So hopefully that would be an experience of itself. And on the side, I just coach for fun, nonprofit. So yeah, I guess I'm doing what I can.
What's the experience? Because is the skin health a product or it's an experience? It's a service.
Well, it is a product, which is an experience because it's what you put on your face. But I think at a deeper level, it's more about, I've been through my own skin challenges, and it's not actually just a skin challenge. It's actually a reflection of a more deeper rooted problem, which was just me not really taking care of myself, right? And it really required like a lifestyle change. And so I think when at least in this example with skin health, it's not just about what you put on your face, but it's about how you take care of oneself physically, mentally, right through your diet, how you sleep, how you think. And so I think the larger mission with this skin health is to help people go through that journey. And we do that more literally through the product itself, but hopefully we can create more education around how it's not just about what you put on your face, but it's everything else.
Well, your skin looks great now. Congratulations for that.
Oh, thank you. I haven't slept, to be honest. So this is where I'm not taking care of myself. I didn't sleep well the past few days.
Okay. Can you speak a little bit about your journey with the skin health condition and all of that background?
Yeah, I guess I was, I guess I'm a bit of a workaholic. I really followed I admire my dad a lot. But growing up, he was often working, even at the dining table. And so I guess I had this kind of preconceived notion of, you have to work really hard. And so when I went to boarding school, I was, working on the weekends. And then in university, I was doing internships and different jobs. So it was like a 2-degree program while taking on 3 jobs. This cycle of like work just continued even post grad. And so I've had, I can't remember how long, 5 or probably 8 years on and off of eczema, but it was really at my at the startup that I was in Hong Kong, and ironically, it was a biotech company trying to help others be healthier. But we didn't really take care of ourselves, and so for the 2 years I worked there, I just had this really painful experience with eczema. I just took over my entire right hand, and then sometimes it would go up to the left side. And it's a very physical thing, and people see that, right? Because when you meet people for the first time, what you typically do is you reach your hand out either for a handshake or a hug, and at that time it was really awkward for me. I couldn't even do that. I was, one, embarrassed by it, and two, like, also disgusted by it because it looked disgusting. I mean, have you seen some photos of psoriasis? It's just flaky skin, and this would crack open, and then it would just start bleeding. And it's not just a physical pain, it's just like mental, emotional toll, because you're just always in discomfort. It's like, imagine for 2 years, I was so drained because I'm like battling this internal discomfort as well, as like this shame and like disgust around it. And so, yeah, that was kind of probably the worst period of my life in terms of skin health, which obviously is also related to your gut and your mind and everything. But yeah, that's kind of been a little bit about that journey.
So with the skincare product or brand now, what's it called, by the way?
It's called Epiluma, but
What is it?
It's called Epiluma, but we haven't launched.
Luma?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Epiluma.
What's the focus now, or what's the challenge now?
Well, it's evolving, if I'm honest. I don't know if I'm ready to share publicly.
That's right. The only people who are going to watch this is me, you, and your mom and dad, I guess.
No, I think there's a lot, because it's not, I kind of came on board to help someone. And it's really been me doing it on my own. And so there's a lot of questions that I've been asking myself, which is, should I just branch off and go into my own venture? So that's kind of the sticky situation. I always find myself in sticky situations. But that's the one thing I need to kind of like get myself out of, navigate out of.
It's just about whether you want to even do this.
No, it took me a while to come to terms with it, right? Because if I'm honest with you, I did at first feel, skincare, it's a bit superficial. But I've been working at this for almost 2 years. There's so much I've learned. God, it's not easy going into this industry, despite all these new brands popping up. But I found, I think, meaning in this, which again is it's not just about giving you this product that makes you look good, but hopefully we could offer a bit more insight and education around more like general wellness, right? To help you not just look better, but feel more confident in your own skin, which is really your own home, right? And how can we not feel comfortable in our own home? And so that's something, well, through that, I realized I do want to stick to it. It's just a question of, if I'm putting in so much of my time and energy, does it make sense to do it for someone else, or do I do it on my own, right? Where I really have more ownership over that. Because, it's a risk, right? You have experience in this. When you are an entrepreneur, you want to start something on your own. If this is like your baby living and breathing, but it's not really yours at the end of the day, someone's going to just take it away, then you question, like, your effort, right? Does it make sense for you to go through this pain when there's no guarantee, at least from your end of your point of view, whether or not you, I'm rambling here, but yeah, it's the idea of really, I think, ownership and control. And I'm not saying that I want control, but I think I want to feel that what I'm doing is really mine, right? I'm not just doing this on behalf of someone else.
So in terms of the time and energy that you put into it, is it product development? Is it marketing? Is it doing events? Like, what is what is taking your time? Like, what?
It's all of it. I mean, because even fundraising, you know, we were supposed to have fundraise early on, which is kind of why I came on board under a very different circumstance, because I had assumed that we would have the money, the funds to keep going. But now it's, you know, it's me, one-man team. Product development, I do work with experts on this. I work with people, you know, but it's ultimately driving this thing and managing the timeline, defining what this is, right? And then obviously now to need to start marketing it, you know, at least get this ready for the launch. So building all this, building the connections, right? Reaching out to people, maybe getting testimonials. You know, we did a lot of product testing as well. So we've had given out some of our previous samples just to make sure that people like the product, you know, based on different benchmarks, right? And so we've gone through a few iterations of this, and we're finally happy with this formulation that we have landed on. But yeah, now it's getting out to market, but there's so much work that needs to be done, right? The website, getting the e-commerce ready, and even figuring out, you know, logistics, warehousing. Just, yeah, it's like there's so many things to to cover.
What would you say? So it's you and another person, right?
Yeah.
What is this other person? What is their role?
So, you know, I'm very blessed to have met him. He's the original kind of co-founder in this, but ultimately he is the investor, the main investor. So he's been personally financing this, and so, you know, again, I wouldn't be here without that. So I am grateful. At the same time, it's hard to do this as a one-man team, right? And finance is not everything. You know, it's about executing on ideas, and right now that's yeah, kind of where it is difficult, but it's a fun challenge at the same time. But it is causing me to think a little bit more about, well, how do I want to structure this, right? Like, do I want to then buy this brand ultimately that I'm creating, so that it is mine and not, you know, for a company that I don't actually, you know, have much say in. There's no security in this.
So as I understand it, he's the primary investor, but he's not actually putting in like work, like labor.
Not, yeah. Besides maybe, I mean, building some B2B relationships, yeah. But it's been, you know, it's been like 2 years. I mean, we haven't made much progress on that front. So yeah.
Is he involved with other things? This is just like one of his.
No, I think, you know, he's a brilliant person. He's just has a lot of commitments, you know. So again, I can't, you know, expect that, and there's no way to expect more capacity from him. But this is why I'm rethinking the whole, you know, we've had a conversation this morning, you know, so he's aware of all this. But it's more of a question of, well, does it make sense that I then branch off and do this on my own, right? Yeah.
If you were to do it on your own, would you?
Yeah, go ahead.
Seek to create a skincare product with the larger mission of promoting wellness and self-love and.
Yeah, I mean, so here's the thing, right? It's such a competitive industry, right? But and some people, you know, they claim that, oh, they're clean beauty and whatnot. We don't use chemicals. And okay, well, so this is the narrative that I really want to dig into, because it's a fascinating one. Chemicals are everywhere, right? Like H2O water is a goddamn chemical. Yeah, too much of a good thing is not good for you. You could have water intoxication. So actually, I'm not saying that there's necessarily bad ingredients out there, It's the fact that in today's environment, it is ever more quote unquote toxic, right? Like freaking air pollution. There's only 7 countries as of last year, right, that meet the World Health Organization's pollution standards, right? Like having a percentage of particles lower than 2.5, PM 2.5. Like that's only 7 countries in the world. That means the rest of the country are just living in a very polluted environment. And when we think about the quality of our food, of the soil, right? There's all these heavy metals, and there's all these other chemicals going in, and pesticides, even clothing, right? I mean, you've probably heard of the Delta Airlines in 2018, where they issued new uniforms to their hostesses, and a lot of them got sick, like serious health conditions, not just like a skin rash, because the uniforms that they were wearing contained all these chemicals. And so it's more just about, in this world that we're in, it's ever more complex, and there's so many chemicals out there interacting with one another. It's more about reducing our exposure, our risk, right? And there's a lot of products out there who claim that, oh, we're using the a very, very small dosage of this, so it is, effectively safe. But the problem is we don't control what everyone else is using, and what products are interacting with each other. So I think, yeah, the mission here is more just about bring better quality products out there, right? Which is harder to find these days. So products that really have stripped away these harmful, kind of potentially harmful substances, while also educating people around kind of the challenges we face today. But it's not just saying like, oh, this is a shitty world and we have nothing to do. It's more just hopefully also empowering people to feel like actually it is within their control. You can do something about it.
Little switch of topic. You have written a bit throughout this journey.
Yes.
What's been your most impactful piece? Like, if I could only share one piece to someone, like this is her favorite work, which one would you say?
Oh, there's 2.
Okay, fine, 2. Me too.
Again, I don't. It's more just through like LinkedIn or Instagram, right? Like people who are connected with me. But I think the 2 that really stood out was, and they're kind of related, was one, I think, when I shared my own journey in life about growing up, if you will, different phases of my life, and how I realized it's really influenced, who I became and how I reacted in this world, right? How I showed up. And I think through understanding that, it's helped me gain more clarity around who I am, but that it doesn't define me, and I can change it about myself. And I think being very honest about how I went through depression for a period of my life, and that really kind of woke me up from this like cycle, to hopefully help me break out of it, right? So that was one piece, and then again, it's related. The second one was about how eczema became kind of my teacher, because the wake up call really started when I was at that startup, and I had this like skin condition for years. I just, it took me a long time to really realize, like, what the hell am I doing with my life? Like, I'm suffering here. I thought I was part of this wider mission, and drinking the Kool-Aid, but we were not practicing what we preached. We were not taking care of ourselves, and like mentally, I was like just not well. Physically, I was not well, and I think that was a catalyst for me to really, to go into therapy and then take better care of myself. And so I think that piece, both of those pieces, was at least what seemed to get a lot of feedback and reaction.
What would you say is the antidote to the mental health issues that a lot of people seem to be experiencing?
everything in balance. I guess everything.
Everything in balance.
Yeah, you know, there's no one size fits all solution, right? So I don't know if there's an antidote, but I think having balance in different aspects of your life is a really important one. And balance, I mean, like, for example, I was so out of balance. All I cared about was work and climbing up the career ladder. For example, I just neglected all the other aspects of my life, right? Social health, like financial health was climbing that. But then it was like my mental health and all that that took a back burner. I don't know. There's so many different ones now that I think about it. There's different nuggets of wisdom, if you will. Not just balance, but balance probably is one that stands out.
Sure. Balance is good. Do you have a life philosophy? What would you say that is right now?
It's a good one. It changes with time, right?
Mhm.
Based on my current phase, my life philosophy is to actually choose to commit.
Choose to commit.
Yeah, I think so you asked me early on, like, oh, what were my dreams or what did I want to be growing up, right? It's like there's so many ideas, so many things that I want. I think especially in today's world, there's so much stimulus and there's so much things out there. And then we're like, oh, we could do this, we could do that. We could date this person, we could date that person, we could be in this job and that job. I've reached a point in my life where I realized, because I've had a really chaotic upbringing, right? Moving to different cities and countries, going to different schools and picking up all these different hobbies. It's so tiring. And then you can never really make an impact if you're always jumping from one thing to the next. So kind of one thing that I really want to live by now, the philosophy is like stick to one thing and like you'll figure it out, you know. And it's like a tree, right? You have to nurture it, you know. It's very fragile in the beginning, right? It's starting from the seed and then it sprouts, but it takes a long time for it to become this beautiful tree. I guess that's my philosophy now.
Be a tree.
Be a tree.
Be a tree. All right.
Imagine one day you see me on the street. Hello.
Yeah. So you moved to Taiwan, what, last year?
Yeah, a year ago, January.
And you didn't have. How has your community grown? I guess because when you came, you kind of didn't know a lot of people here, right?
I didn't know anyone except my family. I guess it's a love-hate with everything, right? It's been, you know, it's had its ups and downs. But I think Taiwan it's definitely a very intentional reset. What helped was being a little bit more, I don't want to say selective, but specific about the activities I do, because through that you meet people who are more like-minded, right? So, you know, we met through Mio, and that was through BJJ, and so when I moved to Taiwan, I was very specific about, okay, I want to focus on my health, right? Physical health, and, you know, having mental stability and peace. So I was very, you know, specific about doing BJJ, about, you know, doing the run club, which is where I coach. And so I think that's helped, right? Helped you meet kind of people who share a lot of the same passions and interests and maybe also values in life.
Have you found a home here?
It's been difficult, if I'm honest. Still, I think a lot of people I meet are transient, more so than any city I've lived in. New York, San Francisco, Shanghai, Hong Kong. It's crazy. I would say more than half the friends, more than half have either left or are leaving in a month or two. So it's been this constant, like, I need to go out and make new friends, you know, I have to constantly go socialize. So it's been hard to build, you know, a tribe, because that's something that I care a lot about. I love having friends where, like, if I'm, you know, in shit rock bottom, I can call them up and I know I can count on them. It hasn't been that easy here. There's a lot of acquaintances, a lot of people that I can go out and have, you know, fun with. I can rock climb with them, but it's been hard to feel like they're, you know, to feel like family. You know, I'm grateful for these friendships. I guess I'm craving for the deeper, more intimate kind of connections.
I wonder if it's like, is it the people that you meet that will determine like whether you feel like this is a home and you can commit to it, let's say, as a place that you'll stay for X amount of time, or if it's that commitment and that decision first that, okay, I'm gonna stay here for X amount of time, that will lead you to meet the kind of people that also have also made that commitment. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I guess it's like a chicken or the egg.
Yeah.
Because I came with the approach, right? When I moved here, I was like, this is going to be my base now.
Okay.
So I rented an apartment, you know, which is a risk, and I made it like really my home. Again, without really feeling like I have that network here, but I was like, I'm going to go build it. And now that I've been here for a year and a few months, you know, there are certain things that I'm observing, not good or bad, but the things that I've observed makes me question whether or not this is fertile ground to build upon. So specifically from my specific, in the phase I'm in, right, trying to do a startup, because the entrepreneur environment is not as lively as it is, say, in Hong Kong, right, or in other cities. So it's actually also more about that. It's like, okay, what are my goals today, right? And am I in an environment where I could thrive, where it supports me and I support it? I think that's the main one. Because I think what I'm trying to say, we live in such an interconnected world, right? Like we have friends who are, you know, all around the world, and, you know, when you travel, you can meet up with them. Yes, ideally you have that kind of friendship in the same city, but you could still build those connections even if you're not in the same city. So it's more just about whether or not this place, say in this case Taiwan, can allow me to, I guess, reach that potential, if you will, for example, in my career. So I can make sacrifices in certain things. I could maybe sacrifice the feeling of family here, right? Like with friends. But if that's not being covered, and the entrepreneurial environment is also not as vibrant here, as I kind of need it to be, then you start to assess, okay, there's multiple factors here that are not as optimal. They're good, but they're not optimal. Then it's like, well, can I build a home here? Can I make this a home? I don't know. That's something that I'm questioning now.
Do you consider, wait, so your parents are here?
Yeah.
Are they Taiwanese?
Yeah, they're Taiwanese.
But you grew up like in a lot of different places.
Yeah, I grew up like in Hong Kong and the States, mostly.
What's your relationship to the Taiwanese identity? Do you consider yourself Taiwanese, or like not really?
That's a tricky one. I never did until I came here, because I never lived here, right? Like I would visit as a kid, you know, almost every year to see our relatives or grandparents. But I never lived here, so I felt like if people traveled here and they were looking for recommendations, I could never give that. because now I feel okay, this is home, right? And I'm proud to say I'm Taiwanese. But it only has really taken this past year for me to feel comfortable in saying that. However, I also don't feel, this is my only identity, because it's obviously a lot more complex given that journey that I went through, like being in different cities. And I am definitely not like what you would traditionally think of as a Taiwanese person, right? Because the culture that I've been brought up in is quite different from the one here.
If you could ask for any miracle, what would it be?
Oh, I don't know if there are. I don't know yet.
For right now.
A miracle for right now? Oh, I don't know. This is so corny.
Sorry.
World stability. No, it's. I think we live in very uncertain times, not just personally, right? Like geopolitically, economically. I think we're going through potentially a big reset, right? So I guess if there was a miracle I could wish for, it'd be more just peace of mind. I guess having the tools to help navigate the storm. That's a really internal one, right? I like, in 2023, I was doing a lot of meditation, and that helped a lot. It helped me get out of depression and be out of this chaotic world that I've created or found myself in. So I guess is having that miracle is to have that ability, that tool to stay at ease and to stay zen despite what's happening around.
Do you have a favorite? I know you mentioned meditation, but a favorite tool or mindset or belief that allows you to achieve more peace of mind?
Well, I tell myself a lot, this is just part of growth. Look at how much you're learning. That's really it.
That works. Okay.
What would be your
My favorite tool?
Yeah.
I think exercise is one example. I think I've been reflecting a lot on what, like Jordan Peterson and Esther Perel, and what they are sharing or what I'm understanding about what they're sharing, and about the importance of relationships of all kinds, and how our identity is formed through our relationships. It's not something that's in us. So basically, relationships are the fundamental being of life. And so meaning and stability and peace of mind, it's all embedded in the responsibility that you take within your relationship. So whether that's with your family, friends, even like nationality, all these things, like what is your role? What is your responsibility? What do you have to give? And the more that you do that, the more you're stable in a sense. So it's a kind of mindset, or it's a belief structure, because in my 20s, although I had felt responsibility to serve in the U.S. military, so that's one thing that helped me stay grounded. But a lot of the other times it was like, ever since high school, I was just doing whatever I wanted to do, like just thinking for myself, basically. And um, I believe now that that might have been, that's not what I would recommend. Probably. Like what I'm trying to share now with some of like in the startup thing, and like because I went to a startup event where they were doing pitches, and this like younger group from college, NTU, they were pitching a startup and things. But the message that I'm playing with is like, maybe what's most important is not the startup but the team, and committing to a team, because the startup might like not work and your idea might change. But a lot of times what I perceive in that world, and I'm not big in that world, is that it's like the only thing tying them together is the shares that they have and the money that they could make from this thing. So the moment that there's any difference in like where this start, the direction of this thing can go, it's just like, okay, the team disbands. It's very like individualistic, or the cooperation is only basically financial. Um, and I believe that's incorrect and leads to a lot of like the loneliness and isolation and mental health things that we see emerge. And it's not just in that world, right? It's like in a lot, because we've been encouraged, or to think for ourselves, and that's kind of different from traditional, let's say, Eastern philosophy. So I've kind of come full circle, where it's like, I understand that ultimately it has to be a free will decision, in my opinion. So if you feel like you're forced to do what your family wants you to do, and you have to think about them and all this stuff, and filial piety, and that would be miserable. But if you choose it, I think that's what I'm trying to do now, is I'm choosing to like listen to my parents, or I'm choosing to be more embedded in that identity and that relationship. Whereas in the 20s, I was like just mainly in the States and doing my own thing. It feels different because it's voluntary. Just like in the military, I use that example because I was there, and now I'm rambling. But it's different in Taiwan when you have to serve for some of the men. Like everyone's trying to avoid it, right? Or a job, everyone wants to do it. But the moment that it's volunteer and you choose to do it, like it's different experience. So I'm coming full circle in choosing things that might have past generations been just like how things have done, or it's like traditional pressure. If that makes sense.
Yeah. I think you probably more succinctly said some of the things that I maybe were trying to communicate as well here. I think one of the things you mentioned is about the importance is really about the connections you have, and it's not just romantic, right, or family. It's everything. And when you ask me the question about, do I feel like this is my home? What I was trying to say is, well, from a social point of view, it's hard to really build that tribe, friends, right? And dating is also very difficult because your pool of options is not as wide as being in a bigger city. But then if you also think about work, then you don't have that team. And because the entrepreneurial community is also not as big here than in other places, you feel like, again, you're very much alone in this, doing this. So from different buckets, right, different categories of relationships that we look at, it's been challenging. And that's why it's been hard to feel like, okay, maybe this is home, because to your point, connections are really probably one of the most important things in life.
Yeah. Nice.
Do you find, I just have a question on this one in Taiwan, like how do you find it here for you in terms of building relationships?
I think it's easier for me because I grew up here, even though I went to an American school.
Yeah.
I think over time I've pursued work, like not work, but just endeavors that allow me to form the kind of relationships that I desire. Because I'm naturally pretty introverted and I do enjoy a lot of time alone. But like doing a podcast allows me to connect with people in quite a profound way that I wouldn't otherwise do if I wasn't like doing this. So, or I host events, or I coach basketball, so I can be around people, and like my work is filling those buckets, I guess.
Hmm.
Yeah, I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's good. That's good to hear how you know, are navigating that.
Yeah. So, yeah, it feels like it's the appropriate balance for me to be around people, but also to be with myself because I do need a lot of that.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's a balance. Very important to be with people, but also have that time to connect with yourself. I love that. I don't remember the exact quote, so I'm butchering this as I paraphrase, but it's about how, you know, we're always in dialogue with people, right? We're always talking to other people, but we never really talk to ourselves. But we're the most important person to to connect with. You know, to know thyself and to really to listen to our, you know, intuition. We have to, you know, turn down the noise, the external noise, and connect within. So I think it's really important that, yeah, people do find that time to be alone, so they could really connect with oneself.
Well said. Any other words of wisdom? Or
I don't know if they're words of wisdom, but I don't know. I mean, I think life has been interesting. You know, I guess have fun with it. That's at least what I'm trying to do. You know, embrace all the challenges and learn from it. Yeah, meet like-minded people who who you could share stuff with. I think that's an important one.
do you have a favorite? Well, I got a couple questions, I guess. What public figures do you admire?
I'm so bad with names.
You don't know their names?
I'm really bad with remembering people's with names.
You can describe them, like that guy in that thing with that.
Well, I'm also trying to think who, because I don't. I guess I take bits and bobs from everyone. I don't know that there is one figure.
Or multiple, but a few that stand out. I mean, I know you take from everything, but are there any that seem a bit more impactful or more?
You know, I'm having a really hard time coming up with a specific individual. They all kind of mash into one living organism without a face. So it's hard to pull a specific face out right now.
Yeah, you just have the abstraction. You just have the nameless.
Yeah, it's just
The spirits.
yeah, the spirits. You know, I just feel like here's, you know, there's this thing here, this person and that person. And I just combine them all into this one like entity.
Yeah. What would you call that entity?
Just blob.
Blob. Blob. Blob.
It's a concept.
You look up to Blob.
I look up to blob, yeah.
All right.
Blob, that living organism that's always, you know, changing shape.
Sure. Okay. Blob.
Blob. Yeah.
Blob. Blob. Good guy.
Blob.
Okay. Do you have a favorite quote, or do they also just merge into?
Thing is, I'm so bad at remembering specific things. So you ask me to paraphrase, I will do a terrible job. However, I do have a list of quotes digitally and in my notebook. So I do want to give you one concrete one. I'm just gonna pull out my list
You
actually.
don't have to.
Because I
Maybe,
feel like, yeah.
maybe the way that you operate, or the way that your brain operates is different, and it's not about memory. It seems that
Maybe.
you have trouble to remember names, people. I don't even know if you remember who I am at this point.
Who are you, Willis?
Quotes,
Who are you, Willis?
memory. It's just like, yeah, so maybe like there's something valid about the fact that you don't remember concretely.
You know what I remember?
What?
I remember emotions, the feeling I had at a place or with that someone. And I think that's the most important thing. It's like when you pitch to say an investor as a startup, right? They're not really gonna necessarily remember what you say in the pitch. What they will remember is the energy you give them, right? The confidence, it's about the connection, the feeling. I guess that's kind of how I operate is.
So you're a woman, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, got it. It's not it's not what you say, it's how you make them feel.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. That's the quote. I forgot who says it, but
Yeah, that is a quote. I don't hate it. But exactly that. See, I wouldn't be able to say that line precisely.
what advice would you give to yourself from 10 years ago? Let's go.
10 years ago. So I would be what, in my like mid-20s? So really out of college. God, things were crazy.
Let's say just coming out of college.
Coming out of college, I think I would say try as many things as you can early on. Because it really gives you, I think these experiences inform kind of your passion, your direction. And if you try more things early on, then you are able to have a better idea of maybe what works, what doesn't. Well, it's
Do you
not just
feel
what
you
works.
did it?
Um, yes and no. I guess it's all relative, really. But maybe I didn't try enough of other things. I don't know.
Like what?
No, I think I did a fair amount of trying, and this is why now I'm like I want to, commit to something. But sorry, I'm only using this example because I'm thinking of okay, college kids graduating, right? Like there are a lot of people I've met who then come out and then they go into a role, and actually that's not a bad thing either. I really admire someone who just sticks to something and they become an expert in that field because they've mastered it over the years. But I also have met a lot of people who are like, well, I just don't know what I really want to do. Should I dive into them? Like, well, go explore, try it out.
Like, so is there anything that you haven't tried that you'd like to try or haven't learned?
Well, again, I'm thinking more work related because we're talking about out of uni.
It could be work related.
I guess it's like dabbling in marketing more.
Marketing.
Dabble in marketing. But I think another one, so this is not work related. What I also maybe encourage is maybe this is more appropriate, taking the time to figure things out, not rushing. That would be a more appropriate one.
Not rushing.
Yeah. Probably still the constant advice I need to remind myself.
Yeah. So on my podcast, I've mimicked a tradition where the last guest leaves a question for the next guest, not knowing who the guest is.
Hmm.
And you kind of already answered it because the question the last guest left was, if you could start or learn anything right now at this time in your life, what would it be and why? Might have mentioned marketing. I don't know if it's something you still would like to learn. And it could be personal or professional.
What is something that sorry, can you repeat the question? What is something I want to learn?
If you could start or learn anything right now at this time in your life, what would it be and why?
Again, I'm because we've talked a little bit about the work, and I'm very much in an entrepreneurial mindset right now. So yeah, I think it's marketing, but that's a very much career-driven response.
Sorry.
Well, I mean, that's a really career-driven response. Perhaps there are other things I want to learn, but I've kind of been in that, like, partially in that work mindset throughout this conversation. So that's my immediate reaction, my immediate response.
It seems like you judge yourself for having a work response.
I don't know, maybe because I took a gap year and I've never taken a gap year in my life. And I took a sabbatical in 2023. And for me, that's a long time. It's one whole year. And then last year I tried to figure things out, but I really took my time with it. So I guess in a way I'm kind of giving myself pressure now to like not, dig around. But so maybe, yeah, I do judge myself in that way. Yeah, it's a good observation.
Yeah, that's what I do. I observe. Okay. What question would you like to leave for the next guest?
What is one question I would like to leave for the next guest? I think it's, what was the biggest, I don't want to say mistake, but I'll say mistake or mistake that they made, that they learned from.
What was the biggest mistake that you made that you learned from? Something like that.
It's the biggest mistake you've learned from.
Okay. Would you like to answer that question?
I don't know. I think maybe it's just about slowing down.
A lot of slowing down involved.
Yeah. My first, the last one, last response, the first startup I joined, I went on board as just a designer. 3 months later, the co-founder goes, Jen, again, I'm a fresh grad. He goes, Jen, I'm going to move on to an advisory role. I'm going to let you run the company. Being so naive, young, and, like full of energy and like, again, naivety. I was like, yeah, sure, let me do it. But I was just moving at like lightning speed. And actually his feedback to me really resonated. He goes, Jen, I feel like you're like high speed bullet train, just going 1,000 miles an hour, but I don't know like the direction you're headed towards sometimes. And it really kind of stuck with me. Maybe I've always rushed through things in life. So slowing down is a really important lesson I've had to learn over and over.
So they're not really a train then, because a train is like on a track. They're more of a high speed, I don't know, wild horse or something. I don't know.
high speed train without tracks.
Got it.
Yeah.
All right. Any final things that you would like to share, promote, or request from our 4 viewers that will watch this?
No, I think this has been a lovely kind of experience to chat with you. I've definitely observed some things, continue to always observe things about, myself through this. So it's been a nice experience, and just to also hear more about your side of things. I know it was more about my sharing, but I appreciate you sharing kind of some of your thoughts as well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. It was a pleasure. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording. You don't have to get off. We can just do some last minute catch up.
Yeah.